everyone, my name is Borax the Mighty, and today we'll be looking at Lee Sin, the Blind Monk, and we'll rate how good he is as a support.
Force is meaningless without skill.
In terms of early game, I like to look at a support's ability to invade, their strength in laning, and how effective they are at roaming. Now you might think Lee Sin is a decent invade champion because he has a strong level 1, and with other people set up and a Q that does execute damage, I would have to agree. But you really need other people set up to make anything work, and for that reason I'm going to give him a C- for invading. It's a little better than bad, but not much better. I like to judge the overall laning phase based on 3 categories: poking, peeling, and all-inning. For poking, you don't really have that many options, as you only have one ranged ability. Something that I was trying to do was land a Q, fly in with second Q, getting an auto off to proc electrocute, then Wing away as my way of poking. Problem with that combo is your Q doesn't do a ton of damage if the target has a lot of HP, as it's an execute, so for a poke tool it's not amazing, and as you can see, if the enemy is able to land something on you while you try to execute this combo, there's a good chance you'll just die, and for these reasons I will give Lee Sin a D rating for poking. Next up in lane we have peeling, and Lee Sin was surprisingly very decent at this task. You have multiple abilities which are great for peeling. You have your W shield that when building AP and going airy is solid, and if you are skilled enough, or in my case honestly just lucky, you can even block key skill shots with this ability. Then you have your E, which when double activated slows all enemies around you, making it harder for them to chase your targets. And finally you have your best peel tool, your ultimate, which while having a long cooldown does serve as an amazing get out of free jail card on a single target, and can be used to peel multiple enemies if you kick the target through them. Now, while Lee Sin support has multiple ways to peel, sadly none of them are crazy good, as they all only do a teeny weeny bit of something to help them peel during laning phase. Although later on your peeling does get a lot better as your build progresses and your shields get stronger, but in lane I will give Lee Sin support a C for peeling. So many instances my ADCs would get hit by a key ability, and sadly Lee Sin just lacks that crucial hard CC to counteract the enemy's engage, and that's why I can't give him a rating any higher than a C. Finally, let's take a look at Lee Sin support's ability to all-in during laning phase. He's actually not bad for 2 reasons. Number 1, Lee Sin does a good amount of damage because of his Q execute on low target enemies. So, if your ADC has been able to poke the enemies down, then Lee Sin can actually finish them off. The second reason why Lee Sin isn't bad at all-inning, as a support, is because he can engage in multiple ways. Pre-level 6 you can use your W to jump to an ally minion or ward, and then quickly slow down both enemies with your second E, and that's not a bad way to start a fight. However, post level 6, Lee Sin's engage is unlocked, as you can either walk behind the enemies to kick them into your carry, or better yet into your tower. Or you can pull off everyone's favorite Lee Sin move, the insect, and either ward jump behind them to kick them back, which I'm sadly not the best at, or you can use your flash to pull off the maneuver, which is a lot easier. The best way to perform this move so that they can't respond is to press ult first, then flash behind them, so they can't react to it, as your kick will be buffered during the flash and cause them to be kicked into your team. For all-inning, I will give Lee Sin a B+ rating. It's really not too bad, but again, his lack of hard CC makes it so that he can only pull off the slow, and until he has unlocked his kick, it's a bit hard to force the issue without your jungler coming in to help. Now before we rate Lee Sin's overall ability in the early game, let's take a look at some of the matchups he might have to face. And let's start off with Morgana, or as I like to call her, the League of Legends equivalent of eating hot peppers. If you follow this channel, then you know I despise this champion more than anything else, and while you can dodge her Q fairly easily, you can't really do anything if she binds your ADC, and she has such an easy way to counter your kick combo with her black shield, so she goes in the hardest tier. Alongside of her are a bunch of other enchanter champions, because well, Lee Sin's support is kinda bad, so facing up against champions that will just poke you down or hard peel you off when you go for a play sucks to play against. Then we have Nautilus, Maokai, and Leona here, because if they go in on your ADC, you can't do anything to stop them. Next up we have some more matchups that'll be hard, because well, you are kinda trolling playing Lee Sin's support. These are champions with skill shots that you will be able to dodge fairly easily with W, but your ADC will be kinda screwed and have to flash. I also include a lot of champions here that do not have incredible laning phase, so at least you won't hard lose in lane hopefully, but they are much better than you later on. Next up we have some champions that you can maybe do okay-ish against. With Brand and Xerath, if you can dodge their stun, then you actually have a good chance of killing them. And with Panth, you just want to play super safe, and then he will fall off even harder than you will. Then we have some champions that I'm just going to slap into that you can clap their cheeks tier. Truthfully, I'm not sure you will beat them, but Taric should never be able to land a stun on you, Sona is a free ult target 24/7, as well as Senna, and honestly Vel'Koz too. While Vel'Koz could be annoying, most Vel'Kozes are trash, but if the person is actually insane on Vel'Koz, well then, you're probably screwed. There's one champion that I think you do smash, and that is Lee Sin. If the other person is playing Lee Sin, then they are probably trolling like you, and without the great knowledge of this video, I think you will have a fighting chance against them, and I believe in you. Finally, we have some champions in the who plays these guys even tier, because well, I'm still waiting to see them in one of my games. In terms of ADCs you want to play with, I would recommend poke-centric ADCs like Varus, Kate, maybe even an Ashe or Meph that you can just chill next to and do your best to peel for them. The best ADC I can think of to play with is Ezreal, and that's because he can poke the enemies down, and he is the safest ADC that your ADC can play, so that you can leave lane as fast as you can and look to do something that Lee Sin is fairly decent at, and that's roaming. I have played quite a few junglers as support so far, and the reason they can survive in the support role usually is their strong ability to roam, which is oftentimes just another word for ganking. Lee Sin is great at that because you can hop over walls to surprise your opponent, or just to walk over their dead body because the play is already over. Another nice thing about roaming on Lee Sin is your ability to execute low health foes, which will finish off the kills. But let's be real, the best part about roaming on Lee Sin is showing off your ability to flash kick even if it wasn't completely necessary. For roaming, I will give Lee Sin a solid A- for most players. However, if you are really good at Lee Sin, then it's obviously an easy A+ or S- because you will find crazy angles to kick people in, but it will usually end up costing your flash, so it's not too consistent. It's time to give Lee Sin support a rating for his early game, which I will slot at a C-. It's really not that good, and I ended up losing a lot of lanes just because I found the lane to be really hard. The faster that laning phase can end, the better off you will be, so let's talk about what Lee Sin support's late game looks like right now.
Blindness is no impairment against a smelly enemy.
When it comes to late game, I like to look at some important support strengths that include finding picks and team fighting capabilities, which I'll break down into engaging and peeling. Lee Sin is great at getting picks for his team. Is that annoying Yorick just split pushing all game and not playing around vision at all? Just walk up behind him and kick him towards your team. Easy peasy. Oh wait, he has flash? No worries. Just use your kit to slowly whittle him down and slow him enough so that your team can finish him off. It can be really annoying to play against a Yorick who just takes all of your towers, so why not find him under his own tower and kill him right there while completely ignoring tower damage thanks to your full armor build into a full AD team, and the Yuumi that decided that for some reason that Lee Sin support is the true star of the show. For finding picks, I will give Lee Sin support an A rating. If someone is isolated, kick flash is a great way to catch them out, even if it might be an excessive maneuver sometimes. And if you build lethality like I occasionally tried, you can even finish off fleeing opponents yourself with that Q execute. Now, let's get into the core of League of Legends of the late game, which is team fighting around objectives. Here, supports are usually in charge of engaging and or peeling for their team. In terms of engaging, Lee Sin is actually quite crazy depending on how good the Lee Sin player is. You see, normally jungle Lee Sins will fly into the whole enemy team in order to kick the ADC or mid laner into your team, and that really doesn't change as a support outside of the fact that you're about 10 times squishier, so it is a bit harder. But if you don't get blown up, you can still pull off this play, and it's so worth it for your team because you are just trading a support for a big damage dealer. Now, while that's the hero play you will want to strive for, what will oftentimes be more realistic is kicking in the enemy's frontliner into your team, which isn't bad if you can blow them up, or also by chance use it as a way to peel like I did here. For engaging, I will give Lee Sin a B- rating in the late game. It's hard and is super skill based. If you're really good at Lee Sin, it easily goes up to like an S-, but if you are like me and more of a casual, then B- seems fair, because you will make a lot, and I mean a lot of mistakes, and will just end up dying when you try to engage, which happened to me a lot. But man, I would be lying if I said that it wasn't a ton of fun trying, even if the play failed. But even more fun when the play worked out, and the kick you completed actually knocked over several people and had a big impact. For peeling in the late game, Lee Sin is actually not bad at all. With Shurelia's Battle Song both buffing your shields and giving both you and your ally that you shield and movement speed, you will be flying around the fight, giving allies the shielding they need to survive a fight. You can also use your kick situationally to disengage a doomed fight and to turn it from a complete disaster into only a big setback. Not bad at all. For peeling, I will give Lee Sin's support an A- rating. It's not the biggest shield, but it is definitely noticeable, and with the added bonus of the movement speed buff and your slow on E plus your kick, Lee Sin, as a support, has quite a few peeling tools to keep his carries alive for a little while, but definitely not permanently, which is why the rating isn't any higher. Before we give Lee Sin's support an overall grade, let's take a look at the runes and items I like to run. Now for runes, I see 3 options. If you are cracked at Lee Sin and are just watching this video for entertainment, then I would recommend you go Electrocute and just try and stomp your lane, and I doubt I've said anything too revolutionary for your ears, but I do appreciate you stopping by. For the rest of you guys who might want to try out Lee Sin's support as a creative new off-meta pick, I would recommend taking either Airy or Guardian. I'm not entirely sure which one is better as they have different advantages. With Aerie, you can proc it more often and use it to do both damage and buff your shielding, but with Guardian, you get a bigger one-time shield, movement speed, and you can take a rune further down in the tree, which also buffs your shielding, so feel free to experiment with each one and let me know how it goes. But with Aerie, I like to take Nullifying Orb as it's the most useful option, Transcendence for more CDR, and Water Walking for better scraps in River, and because Scorch doesn't do anything for you and you don't want the game to go super duper late. With Guardian, I like Font of Life with your E, Second Wind for more sustain, or Bone Plating if you prefer that, and then Revitalize as it boosts your shielding. Now for the secondary tree, I always took Inspiration to take Perfect Timing, as I love this rune to enable me to make plays, and Biscuit Delivery in order to better survive lane. Now let's talk about items. Again, if you're crazy at Lee Sin, you will probably be able to pick up some nice kills, and you should definitely go Lethality and just snowball the game that way. But the build that I found to be the best and most consistent was Shirilia's Battle Song, which can boost your shields and gives you and your allies lots of movement speed potential, which feels awesome. Then, the game that I did the best on Lee Sin, I rounded out the rest of my build with a bunch of armor as the opposing team was all AD, and I really felt like I was an unkillable champion, and that was amazing. Other builds that I tried included going Zanya second, which is so much freaking fun if you're able to use it after a kick, but I'll be honest, I keep forgetting I had this item and was too slow to use it quite often, so maybe it's not the best. I'm not really sure what the best build is for Lee Sin's support. It's probably going to items such as Redemption and Ardent Sensor down the line just to make sure your shields are better and better, but it's truly a work in progress, the build, and I encourage you to explore and find a path you like, and if it works, please tell me what you went with and let me know in my Discord. Now that we've talked about Lee Sin's support's possible runes and items, let's give him an overall rating for his ability to support, which I'll slot at a C+. It's not terrible, but it's also not good. But it is a lot of fun, and if you love Lee Sin, then I would highly recommend you give it a try, but maybe stick to normal draft instead of taking it into ranked. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video and leave it a like, that would be amazing. And if you want to subscribe, that would truly make my day. Thank you once again for watching, and I want to wish you good luck if you try out Lee Sin's support for yourself. You will probably need it.